So number one, it teaches you the true discipline. When you start boxing, you definitely think of it as like, damn, like this shit is hard, because when you first start, it's very awkward. Boxing is a very awkward sport for for movements. Like the way you stand and move and fight and throw punches, it's very fucking awkward. So it's gonna take time before you get comfortable actually being in your stance and not losing balance when you throw in simple punches like 1 2. So it definitely shows you that if you stick with it and you keep doing it and keep putting in work and keep repeating the same motions over and over and over, the hard work pays off and you're actually going to see the results, right? Second one is lack of consistency is felt in your performance. Now, even if you've been boxing, like if you've been boxing for a while, you know this for sure. Like if you've been boxing for like a long time, like nonstop, and then you take a break for like even a month or so, and you come back, you can literally feel your skill kind of, you're a little rustier, you're not as fluid, your punch is a bit slower. Boxing is a sport that you just have to keep putting in work constantly, because if you lack consistency in the sport, you will feel it in your performance always. you know Boxing is one of those sports where the results don't lie. Like your performance does not lie. You can say whatever you want to people, to coaches, to your teammates, whatever you want to say. Your performance do not lie. People see how you perform, and your performance is the direct result of your discipline and consistency to the sport. And then what's consumed out of the gym is also felt in your training. What I mean by that, by when you have to be disciplined in boxing, you have to realize that you have to kick habits like smoking and drinking, or doing other stupid shit like consuming bad foods, a lot of fast food, or sleeping very very poorly. Those things will be felt in your training, because even if you train like hard for like a month and then 1 week and you just get absolutely wasted, you better believe your next practice or two you're gonna feel out of it. You're gonna be like sluggish and shit, until you really sweat it out. You get all the toxins out of your body, and then you will start to get back to your routine. But like what you consume outside of the gym is definitely felt in your gym. And then the last one is you can't rely on motivation to get the best results. What I mean by that is motivation, it comes and goes. Like it comes and goes all the time. And the things with boxing is that you just can't rely on motivation, because at the beginning you're like so excited about it, boxing is fun, all this, all that, blah blah blah. But then all of a sudden, you're fucking sore, right? And you realize boxing is not easy. Boxing is fucking hard, bro. And then you're like, shit, do I keep going or do I not? And a lot of times you see those people in the gym, they will come maybe from like for a practice, or like they go for a month and then they just never show up again, yeah, because they've been relying on motivation. It's that initial excitement that gets them to the gym, but what really keeps people in the gym is the discipline and dedication. It's being able to see the long-term game when you do these things. It's not about short-term, it's all about long-term, because every time you get in this gym, you get better by 1% every single time, right? You might have some shitty workouts, you might have some good workouts, but as long as you're in the gym, you will succeed. The hard work pays off. The next one is obviously, boxing gives you confidence, right? So when you continuously show up for yourself to really put in work in the gym, week after week, month after month, year after year, every time you do a completely hard workout, it gives you a sense of accomplishment. And the thing is, the way you build confidence is that you have to have a lot of small wins, right? Because when you have a lot of small wins, you start to feel and believe that you're a winner, right? And how do you get there is by doing things that are uncomfortable, but they do feel rewarding. And consistently doing something like boxing is gonna give you that feeling. Now, the second point is pretty much connected to what I was just talking about. Subconscious beliefs in yourself to defend yourself and others is first you get those wins, you know, in your subconscious, you start to believe in yourself, but also you now realize that you can defend yourself, but not just yourself, but other people as well around you, right? You feel more protective, you feel like you can really take on the world. Now, it's funny because in boxing there are a lot of people who have huge egos. Like, I mean, it's not uncommon. It's pretty obvious, you know, that a fighting sport will have people with big egos. Yes, it's all over the place. But the funny thing is that once you start sparring, you a lot of those times those people are like, they realize, oh shit, this is like no joke, right? Because there's a saying, once you get punched in the face, your plan goes out the window. No, it's actually said everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. It's the same thing. But the thing is, when you know you can do this, like when you know you can protect yourself and other people, it's almost like a calm confidence, right? Because you can just walk around, you know what you're made of, and you know when the critical situation presents, you know that you will be able to handle it. And that gives you like a calm sense of confidence, right? Not the type of confidence that you have to portray yourself as a sort of like macho or whatever. It's more of a like, you just vibe it, you're just cool, you know what I'm saying? Number 3, looking better and feeling stronger. I mean, boxing, you know, if you stick around for a long time and you at least eat somewhat decently, right? You don't put junk in your system, you're gonna slim out a little bit, your muscles gonna look toned, you're gonna have a lot of stamina, and you're just gonna look, you know, you're gonna look and feel better. And especially if you do some weight training with boxing, man, it's awesome. It's awesome. And then last one is, you will be doing something the majority of the people in this world will never be able to say that they did. Now, let alone just going to the boxing gym on its own, like most people will never do that. But then start to spar, now you're already doing something that a lot of people will never even dare. After you spar, if you get to go into the actual ring and have real bouts, that is something that a lot of people will never be able to say they did in their lifetime. And that's huge, because when you feel like you've done something that a lot of people can't say that they did, that gives you a very good feeling about yourself. And then number 3, it teaches the true resilience. It's somewhat like discipline, but this is where you can really grind and go to the next level, right? Because when you train your ass off, there's always the next level to go to, right? So the first point I make here is, it helps you to overcome little bitch voice. Meaning, you know, if you've been doing this for a while, you know, or even the weight training, whatever, like any sort of physical exercise, once you really start to push yourself, there comes a point where it's like, it becomes hard and it hurts, and like in your head it's like, oh man, I can't do this, I want to stop. This is your opportunity to be like, shut the fuck up, you know, I'm doing this, like fuck you. This is your point in life where you can decide who you really are. This is how you mold yourself through those tiny little adjustments to your mindset during every single exercise, you know, every single practice. It adds up, because it's 1% every single time until you get better and better and better, you know. And the more you improve yourself in that aspect, the more levels you will have to conquer, right? And each level sometimes gets difficult. Well, not even sometimes. Each level does get more difficult every time, right? So the more resilient you become, the more levels you can conquer and conquer and conquer. And because of that, you will become resilient. You will become thick-skinned. You will become very mentally tough, you know, and it will give you confidence too. Now, the third one is not allowing yourself to quit, which is basically like the first two as well. But boxing is a sport where when you go to practices and you really are in the moment, you know, it hurts, you're not liking this, it's hot, you don't feel comfortable at all, and your bitch voice is like, yeah, we should stop, like chill out, like slow down. No, you can't. Because a lot of times, if you take this shit seriously, you don't want to look like a bitch in front of your teammates, or especially coach. You know, it's pretty funny, think about it, but like, you know, most people that go to the gym, you know, we want to impress the coach a little bit, you know, we want to show that we're what we're made out of. So if you quit, you know, you're not gonna feel really good about yourself. And the thing is, quitting is only when you fully stop trying. I'm not saying that like when you're exercising and you stop doing it because it gets too hard. What I'm saying is that when it gets too hard, do you try to keep going in general? Do you even give it a shot, or do you just stop and you just stop? Do you like that's quitting? Like what I was talking about, those people when they come for like a day, a practice, or like a month, and they just never show up because there was initial excitement. But once they realize what boxing actually is and how much work you have to put in to actually get good at it, that's when they realize shit and like, yeah, that's what it takes to get good. But you know also what boxing does is it allows you to express yourself, right? So a lot of people, when you go online, you see a lot of people asking about how do you develop your personal boxing style and all that and all this. The thing is, what I have learned is that the way you do this is you first learn the fundamentals really, really well. And once you have that down and you start sparring, some things will come to you more naturally than others. And over time, you will start to do more things that work for you and do less of things that don't work well for you. And that is how you start to slowly build up like your style, right? I mean, it's very important how you're coached and what kind of exercises you do, what kind of combinations you do and stuff like this. But you will learn how to really get into those types of situations, through your trainings. But also, boxing can act as a therapy, a meditation, a dance, and a battleground, right? Therapy, like anytime you like feel stressed out, you have too much energy, just go hit the bag. Just go hit the bag, have some fun, release that energy, and it keeps you sane. Like a lot of times, life can be very stressful, and most people are not very pleasant. Well, a lot of people are not very pleasant, right? And that can stress you out, especially if you work in a job where you have to deal with people all day long. So boxing can act as something that like helps you release that energy, right? It can also act as a meditation. So for me, for example, I love to use it as a meditation because it puts you in the present moment, right? When you're boxing, you forget about all your life problems, forget about everything. Nothing else matters but hard work right now. It's a bliss, when you're working hard in the moment, present moment. You're just going for it. If it's blissful, and then it translates into other areas in your life because it teaches you how to be more present, right? How to be more focused on a task that you're doing in the moment. Boxing can be a dance. I mean, it is kind of a dance. I mean, there's so many boxers that use their bodies. There's a rhythm, right? If you want to be a good boxer, you gotta learn how to have a rhythm. Put some headphones on and you just shadow box, do different drills and stuff like that. It feels good too. And of course, the battleground. There are a lot of different types of people that go and spar, and based off their emotional mindset or whatever, how depending on their emotional state of mind is how they will spar in that moment, right? Some people will be more aggressive, some people will be like a little bit more timid, some people will be a little bit more patient, impatient, or they get angry over time. Like they start very cool, but then they like feel like they're not really hitting you, and they start to get frustrated. And it just teaches you a lot about people, about yourself. Like that's huge. Boxing will teach you a lot about yourself, but the good thing about boxing teaching you something about yourself is that when it teaches you something that you don't like necessarily, it allows you to mold yourself into somebody that you do want to be over time. Because if you don't quit, if you just improve 1% every time, you will get to where you want to be. And that is how boxing changes your life.